Thank you so much, Caroline, for talking to us. So probably just introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Caroline Ngumba, and I am an economic and social development expert. And I currently work for IDH, which is the Sustainable Trade Initiative. IDH is a Dutch parliamentary initiative that supports sustainable trade in different various sectors. We work in an array of sectors, one of them being textile and manufacturing in a sustainable way. So we support the sector all the way from fiber, the entire value chain, from the cotton or regenerative fibers to other materials, all the way to the floor, to the store. Yeah, looking at also sustainable procurement practices by brands, looking at how to support manufacturers, looking at how to support the public sector and the private sector into sustainable manufacturing. And that being said, is that sustainability is here and it's forefront for the survival of this sector, textile and apparel and leather. And so we are supporting all stakeholders, public sector, private sector, manufacturers, brands, towards sustainable practices. For instance, you look at what's happening, the new regulations that are coming up in the EU, like the EU Due Diligence, that is going to require companies, brands, and buyers to be responsible for human rights, labor rights, environmental and social practice, all the way down the supply chain. So if you're supplying like buttons or a needle or fabric here in Kenya, it is part of their due diligence and responsibility to look at sustainability within that. And by sustainability, we're talking about a better environment, better jobs, and better income. So it's really for planet, for people, and for profit.
So what steps are you taking to create the employment space?
Okay, so currently in Kenya, our program is working, we have a Sustainability in Industrial Parks program. So this Sustainability in Industrial Parks program works with export producing manufacturers who are usually under an EPZ regime or an special economic zones regime, or in an industrial kind of setup of production. And industrial setups come with their own challenges. Energy, water, chemical, waste, effluent treatment. They also come with social challenges. How do you treat your workers, worker engagement, gender issues, just facilities and services that create a better working environment and a better job environment and increase productivity at the working floor. So those are the issues that we're working in specifically in Kenya right now. We have key partners. We are working with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. We are working with job creators, as you asked, like Generation Kenya. We are also working with NITA. We are working with the Exports Processing Zone. And we are also working with our anchor ministry, which is a Ministry of Trade, Investment, Industrialization, and at the State Department of Industrialization. So we are working within all that to create jobs, and not just jobs, but good jobs. We create awareness into human rights and labor rights at the workplace, a better working environment, because worker satisfaction means worker productivity. Yeah.
I understand that there have been some policies that have been implemented in Kenya that ensure sustainability of manufacturing. Would you share with us some of them?
I mean, the policy environment is quite good in Kenya in terms of the environment, taking care of the environment, and there are structures and agencies and policies that are in place. Implementation, of course, always has its challenges. And then also the labor side, we really do have a good policy framework. But evolvingly, the global textile and apparel market is evolving into more sustainability, more demands for better worker rights, better awareness, better services, and just better jobs, decent jobs. And so that is always room for improvement. But despite that, Kenya does really have a good policy framework. There are other policies that are coming up. There's policies around circularity. There's and waste responsibility. So there's a lot of policy work that goes on. But more importantly, it's not just the policies, because we do have a very good policy framework, and we just signed the EU EPA. Within that is the most ambitious trade and sustainability clause that I think has been signed with a developing nation to date. And so that also creates more demands on sustainability in terms of the environment and jobs and quality of jobs, decent jobs, and better working environment and better jobs. So there's work to be done, but as a baseline, we do have a wide array. And these framework, and I call it a framework because the policies are here, there. There's labor policy, there's protections, there's we have a good framework and good establishment of a governance structure that manages to take care of workers and the environment. But implementation also is a concerted effort by both public sector and private sector and also developing partners. So there's work to be done more than setting up policies because they are there. But the implementation and also adjusting to the global market requirements right now, what brands are requiring, what consumers are also requiring, and the drive towards more sustainable trade.
You've mentioned that there is a lot of work to be done. So how would you say the future looks like?
I think in terms, and I'll talk in terms of Kenya.
Yes.
Kenya has made a lot of strides towards sustainability. Sometimes I think it has made strides that it doesn't even realize is towards sustainability. What can be done more is a much more deep dive, a much more deliberate effort to look at issues of empowering workers, issues of leadership and mid-management, issues of transfer of skills, issues of gender, issues of occupational health and safety. So those will always remain issues that can always get more focus in an industrial setting and industrial production. So, and those are some of the areas that we're addressing. Also, from the environmental side, we're addressing areas such as energy, cleaner, more renewable and reliable energy. Of course, Kenya has at least 90% green energy, but more can be done, especially in industrial production. There's energy, there's chemical management, there's waste management, there's carbon emissions, and there's water also as a finite resource. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. It has been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much for having me.